Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Bhagavatam, Srimad, Bhagavatam, Hare 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 Ananta Kodevashi, Jaigo Premanandi, you know when you're in class, and pick inside, and then you switch to yeah.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. And I hope you can hear it okay. Okay. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, The Science of God, Chapter 2, Hiranyakashipu, King of the Demons. Text 28, 29, 31. Verse 8, 29, 31. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Text 28. Ushinash Abhudraja. Ushinaresh Abhudraja. Suyagya iti Vishruta. Sapatnai Nihato Yudhe. Gyatayastam Upasata. Those book or the device, you can repeat. Ushinaresha Bhudraja Suyagya iti Vishruta Sapadna Nihato Yudhe Yatayastam Upasata Ushinaresh Abhudraja Suyagya iti Vishruta Sapadna Nihato Yudhe Yatayastam Pasata. Ushinaresha Bhudraja Suyagya iti Vishruta Sapatna Vinihato Yudhe Gyatayastam Upasata. Word to word. Ushinareshu. In the state known as Ushinara. Abhut, there was. Raja, a king. Suyagya, Suyagya. Iti, thus. Vishruta, celebrated. Sapatnai, by enemies. Nihataha, killed. Yudhe, in war. Gyatayaha, the kingsman. Tam, him. Pasata, set around. Translation. In the state known as Ushinara, there was a celebrated king named Suyagya. When the king was killed in the battle by his enemies, his kinsmen sat down around the dead body and began to lament the death of their friend. So purpose will continue further. Vishinaratna kavacham vibhasta bharanasrajam sharanir binna hridayam sayanam asigavilam prakirnakshkesham tvastaksham rabhasa dashtadachadam rajakunta mukham bhojam chinayuddha bhujam hridaya Ushinarendra vid Ushinarendra vidhina tatha kritam pati maheshya prasamikshadu dukhitam hatasma nahiti karair iro uro parisham. Gnatyo muhushtat padayor papatam. Translation. His golden bejeweled armor are smashed, his ornaments and garlands fallen from their places, his hair scattered and his eyes lusterless. The slain king lay on the battlefield, his entire body smeared with blood, his heart pierced by the arrows of the enemy. When he died, he had wanted to show his prowess, and thus he had bitten his lips, and his teeth remained in that position. His beautiful lotus-like face was now black and covered with dust from the battlefield. His arms, with his sword and the weapons, were cut and broken. When the queens of the king of Ushinara saw their husband lying in that position, they began crying, "O Lord, now that you have been killed, we also have been killed." Repeating these words again and again, they fell down, pounding their breasts at the feet of the dead king. As stated here, Rabhasa, Dashta, Dachadam. We should look at the word to word. Rabhasa with anger, Dashta bitten Dachadam his lips. So again, as stated here, Rabhasa, Dashta, Dachadam. The dead king, while fighting in anger, bit his lips to show his prowess. But nonetheless, he was killed by providence. Vina. This proves that we are controlled by higher authorities. Our personal power or endeavor is not always supreme. We must therefore accept the position offered to us by the order of the Supreme. Ushinaresa Budraja Sayugya iti Vishruta Sapatnai Nihatu Yudhe Gyatayastamapashita. In the state known as Ushinara, there was a celebrated king named Suyagya. When the king was killed in a battle by his enemies, his kinsmen sat down around the dead body and began to lament the death of their friend. His golden bejeweled armor smashed, his ornaments and garlands fallen from their places, his hair scattered and his eyes lustreless. The slain king lay on the battlefield, his entire body smeared with blood and his heart pierced by the arrows of the enemy. When he died, he had wanted to show his prowess. Thus he had bitten his lips, and his teeth remained in that position. His beautiful lotus-like face was now black and covered with dust from the battlefield. His arms with his sword and other weapons were cut and broken. When the queens of the king of Ushinara saw their husband lying in that position, they began crying, "O Lord, now that you have been killed, we also have been killed." Repeating these words again and again, they fell down, pounding their breasts, feet of the dead king. Omagyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayarpa Kadamayam Nadati Swapadantikam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaskar Rapta Kanchana Gaurani Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Haripriya Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhube Vacha Patitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Maham Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityananda Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshata Okay. Right, so Hare Krishna dear devotees, thank you very much to hear Srimad Bhagavatam class. We're in the section of the seventh canto where the story is narrated by how Hiranyakashipu, the king of the demons, want to revenge on his brothers, on the loss of his brother Hiranyaksha. As you remember, Hiranyaksha was trying to find the Lord to battle with him, and he couldn't find him anywhere. He was walking the earth, the different planets, searching and searching under the water, in the forests, in the rivers, mountains, and villages and towns. And you couldn't find him anywhere. And the reason the demons cannot find the Lord is because they never look within, they always look outside. They're trying to find the enemy outside, but actually, we found the enemy is us, as the famous saying goes. And same for the demons, they cannot find the Lord who is situated within the heart of every living entity. And that's the big problem. That's where it starts. The 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita explains the demonic mentality, how a person thinks in those external matters, that he has enemies, he needs to conquer them, he needs to accumulate wealth, his relatives and aristocratic family will protect them. Those connections will help him to get a stronger position. So it's a constant battle, for the best place under the sun that goes on between the demons. And the demonic mentality is very nicely described there. I just want to quote just one verse from the 18th verse from that chapter. Bewildered by false seekers, strength, pride, lust, and anger, the demons become envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in their own bodies and in the bodies of others, and blaspheme against the real religion. And also it describes how they, one wonderful verse, how they destroyed everything that was before. Yes, number 9. The demoniac who are lost to themselves and who have no intelligence engage in unbeneficial, horrible works meant to destroy the world. So we can see this situation going on in Kali Yuga. Predominantly, the demoniac force has an advantage. Not that all people are demoniac. In Kali Yuga, both the demoniac and divine is within us. And though that's why it says that whichever dog you will feed, the good one or the bad one, it will become more powerful. And what is the food for such dogs, good and bad, you can find in Bhagavad Gita, for example, in that same chapter 16, where it describes the demoniac and the supreme divine personalities. And in this way, you can understand if you follow the scriptural injunctions, you feed the divine. If you go against the scriptural injunctions, you feed the demoniac. The more you feed the one, the more prominent it becomes. And one can become very bewildered in that situation. So, as Prabhupada said many times, Kali Yuga, the people are, most of them are innocent. They're not demoniac, they're just in ignorance. And therefore they may act demonically because there's demonic propaganda. And that's why Srila Prabhupada was fighting the demonic propaganda a lot. He said, you have to defeat the godless science as well as the godless governments. He was referring to communists, but also to any kind of variegatedness of such isms or those tendencies which are purely demonic. Because the demonic civilizations, we destroy our own habitat. We're very proud of science, and scientists are proud of themselves. But what science has brought to us, I'm not talking about the technological advancement, which also brought difficulties, but what it brought to us is that being so proud, we think we can conquer the material nature for our sense enjoyment. And as a result, we have pollution. As we don't have fresh air, we don't have fresh water. Both are very contaminated, especially in the cities. Even in here, we had the situation with forest fire in Canada when there was such a bad air even on this farm for about a week. And all those who lived here for 25 years, they said, we never experienced such. So when we trying to manipulate matter and nature, then the result is that it's, gives us the reaction for how we behave, which is kind of natural. The, whatever you sow, you will harvest. If we manipulate in not godly way with matter, we will suffer the consequences or the results. And I don't want to go into global warming and such, but just think of the nuclear weapons, weapons of mass destruction. What is explaining here how demons are just destroying everything, right? We can see this, those wars that are going on. Each war is more horrible than the previous one in terms of weapons of mass destruction. I think Albert Einstein used to say that I don't know with which weapons they will fight in the Third World War, but in the Fourth World War will be with sticks and stones. In other words, he was referring to that, experience in the Second World War, which was horrible enough, slaying millions and millions of people, both military and civilians, in fact, more civilians than military. And, seeing this horror, he understood the Third World War will be even more devastating in terms of the weapons that will be used. And so we are the only species of life that destroy our own habitat, and that is due to the godless mentality. And I very much just liked how His Holiness Devamrita Swami was referring in one class in Italy uh, about the scientists and what is there to be proud of if they have not resolved any of the foundational questions of science that they had, you know, for centuries, for millennia. ChatGPT helped with that compilation of those current mysteries of science, which were before and still now today, despite all the progress of science. And there were five mentioned there, and four of them were very relevant to, I can say, our philosophy, where you have those answers. The first one was about the genetic material, the theory of abiogenesis, that uh, basically it was referring about the life comes from life. As Prabhupada is explaining in, the book Life Comes from Life, with the many discussions and dialogues, as well as commentaries in the scriptures that he has commented on. And despite of DNA and RNA progress, we still cannot find the original genetic material, understand that part. We cannot understand uh, how the inert matter produced in a life form. That's still not proven. And all of those four or five mysteries of science, they quite often frequently referred in the science literature, not just popular science. And in this way, it only proves that even scientists, if they're honest, they can admit we don't know. They don't know this, they also don't know the nature of consciousness. They don't understand how the materialistic brain can understand the subjective, non material conscious experience. So that gap is not, there's no bridge between that gap and understanding. However, if you just start reading second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, immediately understand what is the nature of consciousness, consciousness symptom of the soul, and so forth. That life comes from life. And all those questions are very easily answered right in the beginning of our basic foundational uh, science of God. And the third one is the Big Bang Theory. What was before? What's the destiny of the universe? What is dark matter, which is 95% of uh, cosmos? And what caused the Big Bang? Those all questions, they don't have answers. In fact, I was laughing a little bit at it because the big collider, Hadron Collider that they did in Zurich, in Switzerland, trying to prove that at some point those molecules that are stirring and there has to be a big bang, and they was trying to find. So from our taxes, this project has been funded for 60 years, and they finally found 2012. They found the God particle, the Higgs boson. So, and that's supposed to be a great opening. And they thought, okay, this is the breakthrough. And they were trying to feed us this idea that is a big breakthrough. But at some point, 10 years later, they realized it proves nothing but that standard model that they had. There's no breakthrough, there's no new paradigms or new shifts in physics or anything. So the disappointment came. And so the result is, after 60 years of funding, no discoveries, nothing, just basically wasted money. Of course, not wasted. I mean, scientists had their good time being funded. And then they said, okay, now we need to upgrade the big collider. So the result is more funding, you know. But because the theory is wrong, because this theory doesn't have anything to do with reality. In fact, even their own technological advancements prove or disprove their theory, like the James Webb telescope that was sent to the cosmos. That it the, because it was so powerful, it could capture faraway galaxies, and the images astonished, in fact, shocked the scientists because what they were seeing was not according to their theory of the Big Bang. They were supposed to be seeing the very new forming galaxies, but what they were seeing, the very much formed old luminous galaxies that were like 3 billion years older than they were expecting to see. So again, because they have the hypothesis or the theory wrong in the beginning, because of their limited brain and knowledge, everything that is based after that, whatever experiment they want to conduct, it will only prove wrong. And so that will result in a lot of wasted money and a lot of misguidance to the society at large. That was the third one. And the fourth one is a classical Darwin theory. How the small organisms, simple organism, can produce a very complicated, self-replicated systems, uh, that are far more advanced in their biology, like anatomy and so forth. So all of those four, even though we still have this education, Darwin theory, that's the other, but all of this is still not proven, despite all the advancement in that science in terms of molecular biology and so forth, DNA, RNA, astronomy, and all the technologies that help us with this study and research. And please understand me right, I'm not against science. Science is good. It can be used in proving God science. That's the point. The God science is good. The godless science is bad. And the godly science is divine and the godless science is demonic because it misleads the society. And it also pushes us certain ideas that actually destroy our own lives because we don't have scriptures as part of our education. And that's why Srila Prabhupada was stressing the books so much because he said that these books not only can change the course of our lives, which it did, it did change the course of our own lives. It transformed our own lives to the degree we wanted to take shelter of these scriptures. But also, he said that this will be the law books for the next 10,000 years, meaning that at least for this period of time, the stars, or the will of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is there to help the jivas. Poor Kali Yuga, when we are mandasumanda matayoga, we're dull-headed, short memory, full of anxiety, poor health, and so many problems, and and the atmosphere is very much demoniac. Still, within that atmosphere, we can have another atmosphere, like here in Gita Nagari, where we have access to Brahminical principles like cow protection, devotee care, self-sustainability, deity worship, Harinam Sankirtan, reading scriptures every day, you know, Tulasi, Maharani Seva, all, as it says in this wonderful big book, I didn't read the title, but it's got all the darshans of all Radha Krishna deities. So if you open the page where Radha Damodar is there, there's a quote from, I made the picture, there's a quote from Gita Nagari prophecy that Srila Prabhupada had written in 1953, I believe. 3 8. Just quickly check. Anyway, so in essence, the quote said that about Gita Nagari that there will be such a village, and only then, when the human beings will live in harmony with nature, with God in the center, and with all the animals and human beings. So when this lifestyle will be shown to the world and also like really manifested, then it will harmonize. Everything will harmonize. When we lived here, I was noticing every time how the seasons came timely. Like even to the day, like the actual day is 21st of September, 21st of June, 21st of December, that's when the winter, spring, 21st March starts. And we literally noticed how the temperature shifted overnight. Like last year when we were here, until 21st of September, temperatures, day temperatures were 35 Celsius, which is like, I don't know, in Fahrenheit, it's 80 something degrees during the day, and night temperature was 20s. And then on the 21st of September, it dropped by 10 degrees Celsius. So what we have right now is what happened on the 21st September. And it was like this within 2 or 3 day range. For years, I was noticing this coming of the same seasons. And my speculation was, based on Shastra speculation, that because the deity worship and the cow protection and satisfaction of devotees who are visiting the town or live here was to the degree that the Lord was satisfied, the everything was harmonized. So of course, of course, we should also mention there's collective karma in the state of Pennsylvania and so forth. I mean, it's not just us that can produce such a effect, but we should not underestimate it also. Our effort to please the Lord in all those aspects that I just mentioned. And I truly remember yesterday my friend came, Boris and Natalia from Russia. They live here in Harrisburg. So last year when they were visiting, they were telling me, how come you have such a green grass? There's no rain in Harrisburg for 2 months. And we just had 10 days of rain just before he came at that time. So everything was like lustrous green, like very lush, beautiful. So I told him, no, we had rain. I said, you see, we have a microclimate here. Even what to speak of Harrisburg, even the next door farmer, who is like 5 miles away, he had no rain, we had the rain. Not at that time, but the other time. So sometimes we have that because Krishna, he wants to feed cows, and we don't have automated irrigation system. So unless the rain comes, the cows will suffer from not having nice hay in winter time. So Krishna's providing because you take care of cows properly, you cuddle them, feed them, you take care of them nicely. Krishna will take care of their wealth as well as your wealth. Cows' happiness is the foundation of happiness, as outlined later in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam by Nanda Maharaj and Vasudeva in their conversation. So, okay, we can see here at the beginning of the story that Hiranyakashipu was trying to satisfy, please, or give solace to his nephews and other relatives. And he's very smart. The way he presents the philosophy, he understands it quite clearly. You will hear this later, how he will be saying that, like the famous example, how the time brings us together and separates us. So he'll be using the same example, different wording. The same example Nanda Maharaj used, sorry, Vasudeva used, talking with Nanda Maharaj, that the little branches are getting together in the stream of water and then separated, and that's how there's a parallel with the time, flow of time is given. And the same examples will be used by Hiranyakashipu, and he'll be speaking about the soul and things like that. So how come he has this knowledge, yet despite of that knowledge, he behaves demoniacally? That's the question. And the answer is given right here, this HP computer, uh, which I don't know if I can show you. Okay. It's written right here, 4 letters, envy. It's a model of that HP brand. Envy. Envy is the root cause of everything uh, demoniac. Once we start envying God, there's no end of other supporters of envy. Lust, greed, and you know, illusion, moha, so forth. The madness. So all of these are then in place, and it's like a self-destructive model that the demonic people don't understand that this given full expansion of their envy, it actually causes self-destruction. Self-destruction of themselves, self-destruction of the, everything around, and result is very bad. They get perpetually thrown into lower species of life. That's for them. And for the rest, they're suffering because everything is distorted. The Brahminical culture, the protection of cows, protection of other weaker classes of society, like children, women, brahmanas, cows, children. So this is the result that we have right now in Kali Yuga. We can observe it, we can see it, we can experience it. If we are equipped with a Shastra Chakshusha, when we're seeing through the lens of Shastra, then we can see this very clearly, those tendencies. And one, you have to also distinguish the accidental, the innocent, ignorant people that they have the accidental influence. One can say accidental, it's karma, but it's accidental in a sense that not that they really aspired for the since the birth. It was not like that. Like in the case of Ajamil, who we read the previous canto, he was exposed to this vision of this Shudra couple having illicit sex in a forest. So when he saw this, this affected his consciousness so much that it caused him to actually become a Brahminical. He was Brahminical, nice boy, raised as a Brahmana. But because of that seed, the sinful seed, he started to develop certain habits. Eventually he was stealing and, you know, all sort of things to maintain his family and with the prostitute that he was living now with. So he broke different principles of not only Brahmin, like Shastric injunctions and so forth, but he was not like, as explained here, like demoniacally setting the scene. Okay, now let's like, he was just doing it for himself, so it has not expanded yet. Whereas Hiranyakashipu now said, okay, God is our enemy number one. That means all who are demigods are our enemies number two. And those who support them, the Brahmanas and the doing yagas, are enemies number three. So we have to destroy them all. So let's start with yagas. This is easy. The Brahmanas are helpless. We'll just destroy their sacrifices. Demigods will not have the power, overturn our, and so forth. Like that. So expand and expand and expand. And so you have to distinguish these two. So we can be influenced kind of accidentally in Kali Yuga because of the very bad atmosphere by those tendencies. But it's not like we are building the plans. Like I want to really, conquer the world and propose and push these demonic principles. We may even struggle with something that is can be described as demoniac because we have developed those bad habits. But it's not like we're not acknowledging them that we're not working with those bad habits. So many devotees, as becoming devotees, because of their past, they kind of crippled and they're struggling with what they carry from the past uh, as already practicing. As long as they don't change the philosophy, how the demons say everything comes from, what is it, in the 16th chapter again, everything comes from sex impulse and this and that, the other, and it starts, the whole philosophy starts to expand from this. If a meek and humble devotee just acknowledges his whatever habits he has, somebody can give up smoking, somebody gambling, somebody meat eating, somebody sex, illicit sex, somebody this, that, the other, or something else, in variegatedness of these four, or he cannot develop the mode of goodness, he cannot wake up early, he cannot chant his rounds, he cannot chant 16 rounds, so many things. that he cannot yet do. Yet if he doesn't change the philosophy and he's sincere enough, Prabhupada was praising such people. He was condemning those who are raised in Brahminical culture in India at that time, saying, look at this person. He cannot give up his drugs, LSD and so forth. But he writes me such a letter. Srila Prabhupada, please, I want to be Krishna conscious. Just this thing does not allow me to progress in Krishna consciousness. I cannot give up these bad habits still. Please help me. Please give me a mercy. He says, look at this sincerity. Because of his past, he's struggling so much, but look at his sincerity. He's so much better than you are. He was chastising those case brahmanas that are having all the like best upbringing and completely ignoring this upbringing and uh, you know not becoming Krishna conscious and not sharing it with others. So these were the things on my mind as I was reading these verses. Uh, how Hiranyakashipu knows the philosophy, but he's not using it properly because he's got this envy and demonic tendencies. He's completely enraged, affected by anger, which is very much in ignorance. His anger is poisoning the whole body, everything, mind, senses. So he's only, progressing in that direction that this mode of ignorance and bit of Rajaguna is directing him. Okay, so it's good to know these things because devotee, as I said, in Kali Yuga, we both have these tendencies, demoniac and divine, and we need to feed the right one. In other words, we have to be equipped with the transcendental knowledge in order to self-evaluate where we are. We need to detect those demoniac tendencies. We should strongly disagree with them on our buddhi intelligence level, because buddhi, once we strongly build buddhi, or the intelligence, divine intelligence, then we will be able to control the mind and senses. And we will learn it progressively. It's a gradual process. It will not be overnight. I understood, now I follow. It can be like this when you have the mercy of Sri Chaitanya. You can flow and be super peaceful, and your mind is almost divine. you know, everything can be like this even for years, 5 years, 10 years. But then, we'll have to consciously prove to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Krishna that we really want to give up all those things. So we may end up going through anartha nivritti. Usually this is the case. It's a very unpleasant stage, where you are thrown back by your habits, mindset, karma, whatever. But if you're persistent, because now you know the path, you know the secrets, you know the knowledge, you can take shelter of such things as chanting, as sadhana, as 9 process of devotional service, as sadhusanga, deity worship, holy places, and so forth. And you can counteract, you can have your personal victories over all of whatever that bothers you personally. And you will cultivate the divine, and the demoniac will diminish. It just becomes so weak. You'll be just ignoring it, even if it will bark sometimes. Your barking will be much stronger. The divine roaring is so strong. When Lord Krishna blows the conch, everybody, all demons are in fear, and devotees are celebrating. Same as when Lord Varahadev comes, he makes this roaring sound, shake his whatever face, and all the brahmanas start to chant the hymns, the divine hymns, and all the demons, they fear in heart. So the more we are exposed to transcendental sound, the more we are cleansed and purified, and we will become victorious. Param Vijayate Krishna Sankirtan. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, we'll stop here. We have 7 minutes or whatever left for little questions or comments. If you have any, it's the time. Open the chat also. Or you can raise the hand if you want to speak. In-person audience is quiet. Online audience is also quiet. Okay. Corey?
Questions today.
I should say.
Sacred. Um, it's all quite clear.
Oh,
The
clear.
commentary was great. I enjoyed your standard model ripping.
Yeah, it's not mine. It's the scientists themselves. They they actually don't know. If they're honest, they admit. If they're not honest, they will say, "We are making progress. Soon we will prove." That's the council can confirm he had been attending those conferences.
Maybe they can start with replacing their Nataraja statue with a Krishna statue.
That's the problem. Yeah, raise the hand. Unmute and speak.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I was milking, so it was a very kind of like technical class, a lot of technical points. So and when you're just going back and forth, it's hard to grasp them all. But so I won't ask. I can't ask a question about that. But I just want to hear if you have any your realizations from Italy, if you could share any of that, since this is the first time we're hearing from you as a group in so long.
Realizations from again where? Oh,
From Italy, and
from Italy.
maybe realization about Gita Nagari or ISKCON.
Well, yeah, thank you. I will share realizations from Ukraine, if you don't mind. Italy is very nice. There's a lot of tapasya. Tapas, 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 tapasta. You know, end up with pasta instead of tapas. So it's very nice, very relaxed, very good food, and probably the last place where uh, the food is still good. You know, you have a lot of organic farmers in Italy, small ones. There's even grains preserved from 19th century, not just like World War II, but 19th century grains. So it's got a lot of minerals, vitamins. The nation is very healthy in general. I've seen a lot of people cycling in their 70s and 80s on mountains. A lot of slim people, healthy people living up to 90, 99, 100, and still not like invalids. They still like walking, joking like that because of the lifestyle is a bit more slower and relaxed. It means there's a little bit more of goodness in terms of not being rushing through the day too much. So that helps them. And the air, the good water, the food. You can see just that gives the body a healthy, long longevity. So that's Italy, just observation. In terms of devotees and harinams, yes, good harinams there because of many tourists. But otherwise, not so many devotees as usual in temples right now, but congregation is still big enough. So every situation is different. Like we live in Vrindavan, apparently it's better. Prabhupada is good, but they need devotees. Things going on, they're doing their best. But in Ukraine, specifically to this verse, I could see that I could experience the bombing and the demoniac starting at night, especially, completely uh, rakshasas. They want to at night disturb the population, civilians, by this bombing and shelling and causing so much destruction and disturbance. So, with that, talking about that and realization of Gita Nagari, wherever I went to each city or both farms also, I was actually spreading the glories of Gita Nagari and the farm life and the protection of cows. I predominantly focused to speak about that because I wanted devotees to understand the value that we have, and they also have. They have the two farms. Actually, they have more, but these two that we visited, all the nights were calm. There was no drones, there was no bombs. It was just like peaceful nights, happy children, happy cows, good air, and you almost like you're in a different realm, that you're not in a war zone, Ukraine. Even though it's so close to, especially the other farm, it's quite close to, you can say, the battlefield almost. So, and somehow Krishna protects the devotees there and the cows, and I hope it will continue like that. And that gives them some, sobriety and peace of mind. Although, of course, they're also disturbed, they are in anxiety, but it's much, much less. So Srila Prabhupada gave us those oases, or it's one of the seven goals of ISKCON, self-sustainability, and it's a very important part of the project. And the more and more it becomes more relatable and relevant in this day of an age. So please continue what you're doing. It's a sacrifice. It's a big sacrifice. Please understand, it's a huge sacrifice. Every single resident and devotee around the farm who helps and contributes their time and resources and talents and service. It's a big sacrifice, but it's very much needed. We are out of time. I'm sorry. Shri Radha Madala Shakan Tagore Sundara Ki Chai.
Venemaduri Prabhu Ki Jai.
Srivasa Father, Lord, see, well, my friend, and house, motions, and tools, and there, more in consciousness, beautiful. Otherwise, in that, we know it's things, and the fact that the things all the time. Love the more about it, it's fun. We don't have it. You read my life. It's not really interesting. Next, interesting is kind of as I know, this is your question. Incredible. All I can think about because shit. Each other like see. Yeah, that was very interesting in this scene. So I'm curious. Really, and you're for now this you more than see this yeah, so far to your only it's the police. Generally, the question last stage, fishing, and then you know, so far, so the 2 weeks left before the years are that's not it from the audience because a lot of working so that is so say this is the best house or if you which is now super fun and that was well basically going to play so well yes so what when you are well you see this type of machine there is already booked justice and see all work I don't know which year Labor Day still with months earlier really start months it's very easy here it's it really means videos and I say the recording one people trying to show us with breaking this. There was the meeting right by the meeting on the one. The main I think a little contribution. This system is where whatever they apply from long, long, I think it's sometimes funny. Some show that was this world is so unstable, but with you, but you don't feel secure, which is people. Russian rolling in the asphalt, and said, you're born in Russian, you are a Japan, and you are born. So, nothing to do with something in 5 years. It's like, so it's worse. Maybe but take it out of the Eastern countries. They hate our okay. It's growing again. Like I was 68. Still feels like the same. It's like the thousand check. That doesn't really point when but they never did know she called or joke about what she said. But just a few years later, all of us they didn't even decide long they didn't have no jobs to have. And all the tradition roots. They have a tradition of singles. They can monitor. And of course, I understand this, you don't understand what's going on. Can you make again? Say, you know, the rules understand. It's like, what else but hating for different people, conversing with different people. So, but to me, it's if you are, it's not it's you wish you all the best. You find it good. And it's simple. You know, it's what is it to do? Even more tolerance. Even more different. Desire to do or is one of the really good love and stress. How more unstable and parents raise six and children really. But I think I'm sure about it, and if you're working much more when we make somebody fights for the same changes. Encourage them. Everyone is still this will be really nice. This is the foundation of which you can surround. Stop raising. And one of the the other thing is sometimes what not have the force the better than the it's there's a fish is living in waters. Even you know it's living far from there but you know to even care it's really remote university. So those are the difference. Hare Krishna, Tarika Prabhu is still around. Thank you very much, Tarika Prabhu, for your attendance. Your
Hare
presence was
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I hope you're doing well. I'll try to stop by tomorrow to your cabin briefly. We're leaving on Wednesday morning, and I want to
Jai.
say goodbye, get your blessings, and speak a little bit. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.